Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to begin. But first, I would appreciate if you could all either switch off your mobile phones or have it on silence so you can mindfully listen to the proceedings and optimize on the impacts of it. Thank you very much. Please rise for the national anthem.
Sri Lanka Mata, Apa Sri Lanka, Namo, 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 Namo Mata. Sundara Siri Marini, Surani Ati Sobamana Lanka. Gana Ganaya Dekamal Palakuru Piri Jaya Bhumiya Ramya. Apahata Sapa Sirisena Sadhana, Jivanaye Mata. Iliganu Mene Apavakti Puja, Namo Namo Mata. Apa Sri Lanka, Namo 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 Mata. Ubave Aparinya, Ubavaya Apasatya, Ubave Apashanti, Apahada Tulabhanti, Upahapaharoke, Apage Anuprane, Upahapajivanane, Apabhuntiyobhave, Dhammajivanademine, Nipina Apapubudukaram Mata. Janavira Vadavamila Ragenayanu Dana Jaya Bhumikara. Ekamavakagidalu Kalabhavina, Yamu Yamu Vinopama. Devavada Samaveda Durada, Namo Namo Mata. Apa Sri Lanka, Namo 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 Mata.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may sit down. Good evening once again. It's about being aware, being cognizant of oneself, and being able to accept behavior, thoughts, words, and deeds, and maintaining these in sync with your surrounds. This is mindfulness, put very simply, a way of life that has been introduced and adapted not only in schools, but also in all forms of governance, in social interactions, in prisons, in hospitals as part of therapeutic treatment. It is a holistic way of life that prompts unity, it prompts tolerance, and it also prompts reconciliation among individuals, among communities, and hopefully, eventually, among nations. So through our Global Mindfulness Summit, we hope that these precepts will be taken into consideration and all of us will be able to plant the seeds of mindfulness among ourselves. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, members of the clergy, ministers, VIPs, diplomatic corps. You are here for the Global Mindfulness Summit 2018 being held in Colombo, Sri Lanka. And may I now call the Venerable Dhammajiva to introduce to you the underlying factors about the Global Mindfulness Summit and also Sati Pasala.
ගෞරවනීය සංඝරත්නයන් අවසරයි අපේ එමෙතිවරු ප්‍රධාන අනිකුත් සියලුම සති සහෝදරයන්ගෙන් අවසරයි මිතුරුන්ගෙන් අවසරයි මම වචන ස්වල්පයක් ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් සිංහලෙන් කතා කරලා ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කතා කරන්නයි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මේ සති පාසල කියන අදහසත් අපි මේ අද රැස් වෙලා ඉන්න සති සම්මන්ත්‍රණය පිළිබඳවත් පොඩි මතක් කිරීමක් කරලා දෙන්න. ඒක ඉස්ලාම මට කියන්න හිතුණා මේ මගේ ජීවිතේට සතිය සම්බන්ධ වෙච්ච හැටි මට ඉස්ලාම සතිය කියන එක සම්බන්ධ වුණේ මගේ ජීවිතයේ අවුරුදු 26 විතර වයසේදී. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා මට හරි ආසාවක් තිබුණා අවුරුදු 26ට අඩු වයසේ කාට හරි 25 දී කෙනෙකුට හරි සතිය හඳුලා දෙන්න පුළුවන් කොච්චර වටිනවද කියලා. නමුත් මේ වැඩේ කරන්න මට අවුරුදු 40ක් කල් ගියා. ඒ පටන් අර ගන්නකොට අපි පටන් අරගත්තේ ඇත්තටම දහම් පාසල් ළමයි වගේ කෙනෙක් අරමුණු කරලා. නමුත් එහෙම නෙවෙයි උනේ අන්තිමට පාසල් දරුවන් පොදුවේ අරමුණු කරලා අපි පොඩි පටන් අරගත්තේ ඇත්තට සති පාසල අපි පටන් ගත්තේ සෙල්ලංගයක් වගේ. ඒ පටන් ගත්තදී අද මේ වෙනකොට මේ මට්ටමට පැමිණලා තියෙන එක ඒ පුංචි දරුවන්ගේම වාසනාවක් කියලා මම හිතනවා. අපි පටන් ගන්න අවුරුදු 2යි. ඒ දෙකේදී අද මේ වගේ සම්භාවනීය සභාවක් අමුත්තන් රැස්වීම මම හිතනවා ඒක පොඩි දරුවන්ගේ වාසනාවක් කියලා. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා මේ රැස්වීම මේ සමුළුව අපේ අධ්‍යාපන ශාස්ත්‍රයේ වගේම සතිපාසලේ මෙහෙවීම අනුව ඉතිහාසයේ වෙනසක් ඇති කරලා දෙයි කියලා මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඉතින් මේ සතිපාසල වශයෙන් අපි මේ කරගෙන යන වැඩපිළිවෙලේදී අධ්‍යාපන ශාස්ත්‍රය අපි මුල් කරගෙන තමයි ගියේ. මම ඒකට ඇත්තටම අපේ ඇමෙතුමාට ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා ඒක බාර ගැනීම පිළිබඳව. නමුත් ජාත්‍යන්තර වශයෙන් තියෙන ස්වරූපෙදී බලනකොට විශාල වශයෙන් අද අපට සෞඛ්‍ය ශාස්ත්‍රයේ එහෙම නැත්නම් ආතතිය අඩු කිරීම වගේ වැඩවලදී සෞඛ්‍යයේ නැත්නම් ස්නායු සෞඛ්‍ය පිළිබඳව ගොඩාක් තොරතුරු අපිට ලැබිලා තියෙනවා බටහිර ලෝකෙන්. ඒකයි මේ ආසියාවෙන් ඉදිරිපත් කරන මේ සතිපාසලයි දෙක බොහෝම ලස්සනට එකතු වෙන්න පුළුවන් යුගයක් අද අපිට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක නිසා අපි මේ ඉදිරිපත් කරන සතිපාසල මේ ශේෂ්ඨ දෙකේදීම අධ්‍යාපනයේ වගේම සෞඛ්‍ය පැත්තෙන් බැලුවොත් අද පවතින වෙදකමට වඩා හෙදකම ශේෂ්ත්‍රයකින් තමයි මේ සතිපාසල මුල් දකින්නේ. ඒක මේ අපි ඇති කරන්න හදන දැනුවත්වම ඇති කරන්න හදන වෙනසක්. ඒ නිසා හැම කෙනාම අපි දැනගන්න ඕනේ ලෙඩ වුණාට පස්සේ වෙදකම් කරන එක තමයි අපේ සාමාන්‍ය සිරිත. නමුත් මේ සතිය වගේ දෙයක් ලෙඩ වෙන්නේ ඉස්සෙල්ලා හෙදකමක් වශයෙන් අපිට හොඳටම පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඒකේ මගේ ඒ අවුරුදු 40 අත්දැකීමත් එක්ක බලනකොට මේක තමයි ඒකායන මාර්ගය කියලා මට හිතෙනවා. ඉතින් මේ පිරිස ඔක්කොම රැස් වුණාට පස්සේ මට පේනවා ඒ ගමනට මේ අත්ංගෙමුත් සහයෝගයක් තියෙනවා ඒ ඒකායන මාර්ගයක් වශයෙන්. ඉතින් මේ වැඩේ කරගෙන යනකොට විශේෂයෙන්ම අද අපට පවතින මේ ජාතික සමගිය සමාදානයේ වර්ග ભેද පිළිබඳ ප්‍රශ්න වලටත් සතිය පුදුම විදිහට උදව් උපකාර කරනවා. අපි තවදුරටත් ඒ කටයුතු දියුණු පවුණු කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. මේ සතිපාසල වගේ වැඩක් පොඩි දරුවෝ හරහා මුළු ජාතියටම ඉදිරිපත් කළ ඉදිරියට යනකොට තමයි අපිට ඒක දැක ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා විවිධ ආගම්වල විවිධ ජාතීන් වල විවිධ සංස්කෘතිවල අය මේකට රැස් කර ගන්න ඕන නිසා අපි ප්‍රතිපත්තිමය වශයෙන් තීන්දුවක් ගත්තා. මේක අනාගමිකව සාමාන්‍ය කියනවා නම් පාසල් විෂයක් වශයෙන් කරගෙන යන විදිහට සති ඉදිරිපත් කරමු කියලා. එතකොට අපිට පාසල් ශාස්ත්‍රයේ ලොකු උත්ප්‍රේරණයක් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම ගුරු ශිෂ්‍ය ඒ වගේම සතිය පිළිබඳව අනුග්‍රහ කරන පුහුණු කරන සියලු දෙනාගේම ජීවිතවලට ලොකු වෙනසක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපි දැක්කා විශේෂයෙන් පසුගිය අවුරුද්ද ඇතුළත ඒක තවදුරටත් ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන එක තමයි අපි මේ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන දේ. ඒක නිසා ඒක ජාතික මට්ටමින් නතර කරන්නේ නැතුව ජාත්‍යන්තර මට්ටමට ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන් පහසුකම් පසුගිය මාස 4-5 ඇතුළත විශේෂයෙන්ම පේන්න පටන් ගත්තා. ඒකට අපිට උදව් වුණේ මේ සම්මන්ත්‍රණය. අපි මේ සම්මන්ත්‍රණය ගැන කටයුතු කරනකොට ඒකට හැම කෙනාටම අපි අතදික් කරනකොට විවිධ ජාතීන් වලින් විවිධ ආගම් වලින් අපිට ලැබුණු සහයෝගය නිසා අපි හිතපු නැති පැත්තක් සතිපාසලේ ඉදිරියට යන්න පටන් අරගත්තා. ඒ නිසා අපි මේ සතිපාසල පටන් අරගෙන අවුරුදු දෙකක් සම්පූර්ණ කිරීමට තමයි මේ සම්මන්ත්‍රණය අපි මේ වගේ දවසකට යොදා ගන්නට යෙදුනේ. ඒ නිසා ඒකට ගොඩාක් ඈත රටවල් වලින් විශාල පිරිසක් ඇවිල්ලා. අපි මේ සියලු දෙනාටම දෑත උසලා নমස්කාර කරනවා ආචාර කරනවා. ඒ සියලු දෙනාගෙන් අපිට හම්බෙලා තියෙන මේ සහයෝගය දිහා බලලා. ඉතින් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා ඒ ඇත්තොත් එක්ක පිටින් ආව ඇත්තොත් එක්ක අපේ තියෙන මේ අත්දැකීම ඒ අයට දීලා උඟාක් වෙලාවට ඒ බාහිර ලෝකයේ සතිය පුහුණු කරන්නේ වේදකමක් විදිහට රෝග නිවාරණයක් විදිහට අපි ඒකට හෙදකමත් එකතු කරලා තමයි පණිවිඩ දෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. එතකොට අපිට යමක් ඒ අත්තන්ට එකතු කරන්න පුළුවන් ගතියක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට වේදකම හරහා ඒත් දැනට දිනු කරලා තියෙන ශිල්පීය ක්‍රම අපිට ලොකු උත්ප්‍රේරකයක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. මොකද ලෝකයා දැනුවත් වෙලා තියෙනවා ඒක පිළිබඳව. ඉතින් මේ ලෝකයා දැනුවත් වීම අතින් බලනකොට ලාංකික අපේ දැනුවත් වීමත් ලෝකයාගේ දැනුවත් වීමත් දෙකම එක මට්ටමේ තියෙනවා. අපි මේ සතිපාසල වැඩ කරගෙන යන වෙලාවේදී අපි දැක්කා විශාල පිරිසක් මේ වචනේ අහලවත් නැහැ. දන්නෙත් නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒක අපි අර හෙදකම වේදකම දෙකෙන් හෙදකම පිළිබඳව බටහිර ආදී රටවල් වල තියෙන විද්‍යාත්මක පරිශීලනත් එකතු කරගෙන ඒකෙන් ලැබිලා තියෙන මේ ප්‍රබෝධයත් එක්ක හෙදකමක් හරහා ඉදිරියට ගෙනියාම තමයි අපි මෙතනදී බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. මට පේනවා ඒක ගොඩාක් සාර්ථක වෙන ලකුණු පේනවා මේ වැඩ විශේෂයෙන් මේ සමුළුවට සම්බන්ධ වෙච්ච අයගේ තියෙන ඒ විශාල සහයෝගය අනුව. ඒ නිසා අපි ඉදිරියට යනකොට ආගමික ભેදයකින් තොරව සියලු දෙනාගේම ආධ්‍යාත්මයට කතා කරලා ඒ වගේම මේකේ තියෙන විදුහුරු ගතියකුත් මේකට සම්බන්ධ කරලා ඒ වගේම එංගලන්ත වගේ රටවල් වල දැනට කරන මේ දේශපාලන පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැති ඇමති කොල්ලන්ගේ සහයෝගය වගේ දේකුත් මේකට එකතු කරගෙන ඉදිරියට යන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. ඒකට මේ සමුළුව අපට විශාල වේදිකාවක් වටපත් වුණා. ඒක නිසා අපි බොහොම සතුටු වෙනවා. ඉතින් මෙතන අද ඉඳලා දවස් දෙකක් අද නෙවෙයි හෙට ඉඳලා දවස් දෙකක් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේක පිළිබඳ මේ ප්‍රබුද්ධ ඇත්තන්ගේ දේශන වලට අහුම්කම් දෙන්න. ඒ වගේම මම ආරාධනා කරනවා ඉලියවි ප්‍රදර්ශනයක් සූදානම් කළා තියෙනවා. ඒකෙදි පුළුවන් තරම් ඒ ළමයින්ගේ ඉදිරිපත් කිරීම තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම සතිය සම්බන්ධ සහ සතිපාසල සම්බන්ධව සමුළුව සම්බන්ධව ගොඩාක් තොරතුරු තියෙනවා. ඒවට ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්නයි කියලා මම කරුණාවෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ සතිපාසල සංකල්පය හරහා මේ සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්න ඒ වගේම අපිට අතහිත දීපු සියලු දෙනාගේම අදහස් මස්තක ප්‍රාප්ත වේවා කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමින් මම පොඩි වේලාවක් ගන්නවා ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍යයෙන් මේ පණිවිඩය ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. Dear Venerable Sangha, clergy and respected spiritual friends and the ministers and the mindful friends. Satipasala, the concept started 2 years ago, and we started at the very at the grassroots level, and very little amount of schools, and introduced the schools in the sense students and the teachers. And later it became a problem for us to have ethical rights to go to the schools and to give that kind of idea. Then we consulted the Honorable Minister of Education, and I'm give a special vote of thanks because he accepted it in such a way, and then onward it was spreading in a very accelerated way. I today see how much educationists and spiritual people, heads, and the academic people are getting interest in that, and by looking at these 2 years as well as the conference. My personal experience of mindfulness began at the age of 26, and I was the university student in the second year, and it was not related to my agricultural curriculum, it was I met one of the Sudu Hamduru in the university. So I was attracted to that. And very soon I met Ananda Hamduru also in the first retreat. And that was a kind of attraction. And they are the one. Sudu Hamduru are the people taught me mindfulness. And then onward, I started to read and see, because my education was basically in the scientific side. And then when I see the reductionist approach in the mindfulness and how much we can apply and see the parallelism in the mindfulness as well as my scientific subjects. And therefore, I must thank for the foreign monks, the white monks came here and did kind of thing. And so I have about 40 years of experience with the mindfulness. At the early 10 years, I was learning or defining the mindfulness, and then only I thought to take it full time. So now I am in the 30th year as a higher ordained monk, and so much of responsibilities and spreading like anything, but still I am the happiest person on the earth. No much of tension. That is because I try my best to be mindful and one thing at a time, and that done well. Whoever may be pressurizing me, I don't care. I take care about the mindfulness. And ultimately everything organized in such a harmonious way, so why not share it with the other members of my other society members as well as the colleagues. Your Excellency the President, I gave little short talk in Sinhala and I am giving a translation of the same. I will continue with the speech I was there. So meanwhile, while I am practicing mindfulness and being a monk and sometimes work as a meditation teacher as well as the abbot, and while happening, the scientific part of the mindfulness, that psychological and medicine sector, I was reading a lot about many books, and there I found a lot of vocabulary to communicate with the educated people, not only the religious way, but as a scientific subject, mindfulness, and therefore my scientific education was fairly helpful. And I was not in the neuroscience, so I was not in the psychology, physiology, but scientific language was very helpful. And that is why one reason I thought of presenting this Sati Pasala in a secular way. So whatever the field you are, whether you are in the educational sector or health or any social justice, whatever it may be, the productivity and the efficiency of individual level as well as the social level, it gives us so much of a answer, so it appears like a panacea. So it's having some parallelism with the teaching of the Buddha, Ekayano, I am Bhikkhave Maggo. This is the only way for our present situation. The one special addition or one special refinement we did in the Sati Pasala is we try to present mindfulness not like a therapy, not like a healing, but like a preventive. That is far-reaching, but the only thing is the preventive measure. Sati Pasala, mindfulness as a preventive measure, not much popular than the therapeutic and side. Therefore, we have to go hand in hand, but we made a policy decision regarding the Sati Pasala to continue with prevention is better than cure. Keep that in our mind, and practice of Satipasala as a monk, of course I was a forest monk unless otherwise this conference, and there I found so much of tools, so much of easiness in taking a decision and getting in the social relationships. So I would like to share that with the school children. And the Honorable Minister of Buddha Sasana, he suggested, why not give this training for the government servants? Soon they recruited, give 1 or 2 period, 2 weeks of mindfulness so that they can understand, and it will be helpful for their career in time to come. And not only that, the neurological part, physiological part, but it is leading to the peace, leading to the harmony among the different groups. So therefore, in Sri Lanka, I think it is very, very important in the present setup not to be sectarian, but to see harmony and go hand in hand. So therefore, all the parts, all the religious and the things has to come together and work together. Therefore, mindfulness appears like a super glue. It's collecting everything in a super glue, and therefore catalyzing all our relationships and make use our skills not to have one-upmanship, but to get mutual understanding, and meanwhile be happy with our social work. And we saw that specifically in the Satipasala facilitators. Whenever they are teaching, they themselves get recharged, and there are ways and means about to come. So day by day, we are developing tactics and techniques to teach specifically in the young children at the school. So therefore, not only you are learning, you are teaching, both happen in the mutual way, present day in the Satipasala. And when we reach out for the international, today we are very happy. Many workers on Satipasala basis came to Sri Lanka, came to this room to go in hand, so we can, by mutually sharing our experience, whether it is healing or preventive, we can advance our theme further and further. So this summit we organized to commemorate the second year, 24 months of our work, and it's an utter success because the pre-sessions we had 3 in this Foundation Institute. Every session was fairly houseful, and every participant was very enthusiastically presenting their ideas. That means Satipasala is a dream of every one of us, and we are very happy for this attitude. And if anyone wish to learn much more, we have the outdoor exhibition where the presentation of the children and the idea about mindfulness, idea about this conference. You can take time. I invite, whenever you free time have, for the 2 days to come, you may go out and make use this facility. And since there are a fair number of politicians are here, and I know they are much concerned about that, rather than we forest monk in the forest, the harmony among the spiritual, religious, academic, and scientific, political. So please may take this rapport, time to come, by going hand in hand, keeping the children in the middle. We must give a complete protection to the children from all the parties. And very important thing we found, very appreciable thing we found is, soon you give the message to the child, they will teach us again very quickly. Once you give the idea, the concept of mindfulness to the child in return teach the teachers as well as the parents. So this is how the harmony going to happen. So therefore we all have the young children as well as the elderly people with the professional, everyone to go in hand, and when it is happening, the cooperation and the support indicates it's a dream of everyone. So please make use this opportunity in the summit so that we can go in future with keeping the mindfulness as the only way as well as the preventive way, so that we can make a good nation and share this with the other nations in the globe for the moment. So I hope you all will entertain the conference. With that remark, I would like to sum up my talk. Thank you very much for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome our chief guest to our midst this afternoon, the President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, the Honorable Maithripala Sirisena. Welcome and thank you for being here with us. Venerable Dhammajiva, thank you very much for the lead up to the Global Mindfulness Summit and how it happened, the story and the tale. And now we would like to see the entire story in visual form.
Listen to the sound as it fades away until the very end. These children have been learning to be mindful. They learn the art to sit mindfully and to settle their minds into the silence calmly. They are learning to watch churning thoughts and ideas and how these settle into a calming, still silence, like the glitter that settles to the bottom in the magic mind jar. They learn to walk mindfully, slowly and silently, and play games while being mindful. These are the children from the Sati Pasala Mindful Classroom.
A silent revolution is happening in Sri Lankan schools, helping students to cope with routine stresses and strain. Young children are being exposed to a practice that's captured everyone's imagination globally. That's mindfulness. Children as young as 6 to 8 years are becoming aware when walking, sitting, and playing. Mindfulness is teaching them to be in the present moment, here and now.
Walking meditation is you have to search a nice place to walk, not the place that you get squished and stuff. Then you can keep your hands like in the side or in the back. And then you don't need to close your eyes. Then you start say left, right, left, right. And then if you can feel something like sand or ant biting you, you can write that.
Since early 2016, it was a path-breaking initiative when Sati Pasala began as a simple grassroots program. Its architect is Venerable Dhammajiva Mahathero, a Theravada bhikkhu with about 30 years seniority. Following a chance encounter with mindfulness as a young undergraduate in the University of Peradeniya, doors were opened to a brand new world. Later, as a bhikkhu, Venerable Dhammajiva personally experienced the benefits of mindfulness for nearly 4 decades. This discovery spurred him to embark upon the most challenging project, to introduce mindfulness to young Sri Lankan children. Mindfulness is nothing new to Sri Lanka. Being a predominantly Buddhist country, mindfulness or Sati has been practiced in the nation's numerous monasteries, temples and hermitages since the 3rd century BC. The much respected Satipatthana Sutta from the Pali Canon is revered amongst Buddhists for its exposition on mindfulness in depth. Venerable Dhammajiva's mission was indeed an ambitious one. Having taken the journey of mindfulness as a traditional Buddhist, he deviated from convention and decided to share mindfulness in a non-religious, non-sectarian manner. Drawing from his own experiences, he firmly believed that mindfulness could be the answer to the burgeoning challenges of adolescence and youth, if used as a preventive tool. He was also acutely aware that in recent times, the value of mindfulness had been placed in the spotlight in the Western world, although in a totally different dimension. Modern neuroscience and medical intervention recognize mindfulness as a mainstream therapy, raising this ancient practice to an unprecedented level of relevance and popularity. That mindfulness leads to structural brain changes, that it improves resilience, develops positive mind states like compassion, and helps to manage emotions in a healthy manner is now a common understanding. Indeed, these neuroscientific discoveries paved the way for mindfulness to become a much sought-after non-pharmacological intervention for common conditions. This backdrop too played a role in the Sati Pasala story, which began with just a handful of schools from the Dompe Education Division situated in the Gampaha district of the Western Province. Initially, mindfulness was introduced to batches of children in a very simple manner, using instructional essays written in all 3 languages we use in this country. The aim was to introduce mindfulness to students and teachers and principals and entire school communities. The vision of Sati Pasala is to practice bare attention or simple mindfulness as a preventive tool rather than as a therapeutic intervention. Venerable Dhammajiva constantly relates the variety of instances where mindfulness helped him as a layman and continues to offer exceptional support and insight as a senior bhikkhu and abbot of a respected and dynamic forest monastery.
A mindful child is like a blooming flower whose fragrance spreads far and wide. When mindfulness gathers momentum in a child's life, it begins to make the mind expansive and boundless. And it connects with all the other children one by one, as though flowers are being strung together one by one until a beautiful chain of flowers is formed. When teachers and the entire school community learn mindfulness, it opens brand new vistas for a wonderful journey of education. The Sati Pasala journey in Sri Lanka has grown in a limitless fashion during the period of 23 months, taking me and all of us by surprise. It is our bounden duty to share this practice of mindfulness with everyone in schools and universities and in as many other sectors as possible in Sri Lanka and worldwide.
Introducing mindfulness to schools commenced very gradually with a few pilot programs. Its inclusive, non-sectarian and non-religious approach enables students of the large group of Sri Lankan schools which are multi-ethnic and multi-religious to join. Few preliminary evaluations designed to assess the receptivity of Sati Pasala among students and teachers showed encouraging results.
I sit properly in a mindful way. After that, I think that I'm here. After I start meditating, I feel my stomach going up and down and my nose, the breath inhaling and exhaling. And after that, when I'm meditating, sometimes my mind goes away by bird noises, trees rustling, animals shouting, and other kind of noises. After that, sometimes I feel my legs, my joints paining. After that, my mind goes away for that also. But again, I think I'm here and I finish my meditation.
Mindfulness is about being now, not the things that you did yesterday, not the things that you do tomorrow. Just focus, like when you are doing your homework, if you get a mistake, you have to do it again, and if you do another mistake, you have to be mindful and do the other work you have. It's easy when you're being mindful. When you're playing, you can be mindful. You just have to think now. Like you're playing with your friends, you have to try to focus not to get catched. Like that. So even when you're studying, you can do that.
A team of volunteers who had practiced mindfulness for many years conducted simple mindfulness exercises with teachers and students. They experienced composure and well-being during and immediately after the programs. They also felt less irritated, coped better with peers and family members, and during school events. The evolution of Sati Pasala marked a significant milestone in late 2016, when the Ministry of Education endorsed Sati Pasala as a national initiative. Since early 2017, teachers and principals of all national schools have joined mindfulness teacher-educator programs in batches in different locations in Sri Lanka. School authorities, both government and private, showed a high degree of receptivity for mindfulness. They explained that it would offer remedies for aggression and violence, and that it would contribute towards improved focus and better academic performance.
I am Kalani Suryapur, Deputy Principal of Visakha Vidyalaya. We introduced Sati Pasala to the school in 2016 to grade 9 students, after which we introduced it to the whole school. We have also trained our teachers. Some of the key benefits we gained from this program: it developed their personalities. Students are less reactive, less emotional. It has changed their overall discipline in a positive way. We have also noticed they concentrate better in the classroom.
Teachers also feel that mindfulness expansion across sectors such as guiding, Little Friends, Scouting and Sunday schools will pave the way for kindness, compassion and pleasant relations among students of all ages. Another significant milestone was chalked in June 2017 when Sati Pasala was registered as a foundation, thus assuming a formal and legal status.
Sati Pasala Foundation was registered as a non-profit organization in June 2017. It is managed by a team of dedicated volunteers, all of whom are mindfulness practitioners. The foundation's vision is to share mindfulness with students, teachers, school communities and other groups in a non-sectarian, non-religious and a political manner.
During the past year, great strides were made in introducing mindfulness to provincial education authorities. Traveling to all 9 provinces in the country, Sati Pasala team members conducted mindfulness workshops for zonal and provincial education officials. They also held a 2-day residential mindfulness convention at Mipe, and the National Institute of Education staff had a half-day workshop on mindfulness in January. In March, we will introduce mindfulness to all divisional education officials, who will in turn introduce it to school principals and teachers in each education division. The Sati Pasala initiative is based on the understanding that mindfulness helps to transcend prejudices and manage negative mind states, contributing towards healing and preventing wounds in the mind. Indeed, this could pave the way for sustainable harmony between diverse communities and those with a history of conflict.
Of Sati Pasala, as we all say, and Dhyanam, Yoham, that we Hindus say, where we sit still in the present, not thinking of the past, neither looking towards the future, but sitting quietly in a thoughtless state. After all, what is the mind? The mind is the flow of thoughts, and that we were able to control.
A multi-religious, multi-ethnic group of religious leaders are functioning as a non-partisan, apolitical body supporting the mindfulness initiative in schools and universities. Moves are underway to use mindfulness to prevent destructive habits and harmful addictions, particularly amongst children, as well as to address violence and abuse targeting children. Discussion with government leaders are ongoing to include these important components into the agenda of Sati Pasala. Soon, mindfulness will be introduced to parliamentarians. And moving forward steadily, with school communities and others joining in with great enthusiasm, Sati Pasala is set to transcend boundaries, nationally and internationally in the future.
An extraordinary amount of work that has been done by Sati Pasala, and also children, the ideal and a very fertile seedbed to plant the seeds of mindfulness. So that was the story of Sati Pasala and everything that has been done thus far. And now is a good time, I would believe, given that we have seen how it has been introduced into the education system, to call on the Minister of Education, the Honorable Akila Viraj Kariyawasam, for his address.
Good afternoon all round. Venerable Dhammajiva Mahatero, all spiritual dignitaries, His Excellency, the President, Honorable Maithripala Sirisena, special guest, and all delegates of the Global Mindfulness Summit. I am very happy to be present at this Mindfulness Summit, where Sati Pasala is celebrating the 2nd year anniversary, and I remember how 2 years ago, Sati Pasala team members met me in my ministry and explained the benefits of mindfulness to school children. I am also aware that certain countries' mindfulness is already integrated into the school system. I have heard that nearly 300,000 students and more than 8,000 teachers are already practicing mindfulness in United Kingdom, and that mindfulness has been incorporated into the national education policy. In Sri Lanka, my ministry has been working with the Sati Pasala very closely for nearly past 2 years. At the outset, mindfulness program was introduced to my ministry officials. Moreover, we have taken each and every step to convey this noble concept to entire island by introducing to national and provincial school setup. In addition, at least 5 teachers in national schools have been trained along with principals and heads of national colleges of education. Co-coordinators also have been assigned to carry out the task. Subsequently, my officials and Sati Pasala members have visited every province in the island, including all districts covering north and east. Teachers and education officials, including the National Education Institute staff, have found the program to be very useful. School exams, academic work, and other burdens cause a lot of tension and anxiety for students. Teachers are also very stressed with the timetables and co-curricular work. This onerous trouble aggravates in a country where exam-centered education system exists. With the introduction of Sati Pasala to the education system in our country, it has been proven that mindfulness has several significant benefits such as improved focus at academic work, better attention and composure at school and home, better management of emotions, and improved relationship with fellow students and teachers. Scientific studies have shown how mindfulness decreases violence, aggression, and disorderly behavior in school, especially in universities. Moreover, this goes with the doctrine of Lord Buddha, the Enlightened One, where his teachings aim at achieving full mindfulness as the most fundamental prerequisite for perfection of mankind. Today, we live in a world that is constantly transforming and evolving. Education should be a unique breed to process forecasting, power to identify changes looming in the education environment. The world of knowledge and skills are constantly evolving. The need for change and advancement in our daily lives are growing fast. But according to my belief, I cannot be complacent with the development taking place today. However, if humans continue to move forward in a harmful way towards the future, then there will be no future to rejoice at. So, certainly education has a role to play, where primary infusion of traits, addictions, and positive habits should be inculcated among the children by incorporating suitable educational approaches. In this scenario, I consider introduction of Sati Pasala concept to our school system is the best option. This endeavor will undoubtedly lead to the correct path of education vision in our country. I am hoping that we can introduce mindfulness to every student, numbering 4.5 million students and nearly 230,000 teachers in this country, starting with national schools. My ministry is completely supportive of this concept, and I wish the Sati Pasala Foundation every success. I shall remain thanking Dr. Mrs. Taradi Mel for her initiative and hard work in this regard, and congratulations to all the personnel involved in this noble venture. Lastly, my appreciation is also extended to all of you for your gracious presence. Thank you.
Mr. Harsha Gunasena, the President of Sati Pasala Foundation, could we have you on stage to present the Minister with a token of your appreciation for his time and also for all the support given to Sati Pasala to ensure that it does plant the seeds of mindfulness in the generation that will be future leaders of this country. Thank you, Mr. Minister, and thank you, Mr. Gunasena. I would now like to invite the Director of the Mindfulness Initiative, UK, Jamie Bristow, for his presentation.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sri Lanka, Honourable Ministers, Venerable Clergy, and esteemed friends and guests, it's an absolute pleasure to be here this evening to share with you a little bit about my work with a with the British Parliament. So the British Parliament, set up in this building hundreds of years ago, is a very competitive, aggressive place. The opposition, the government and the opposition are opposite each other. And in fact, they're 2 sword lengths away from each other, so that they can't stab each other when they get too heated. So there's been a history of conflict and a history of lots of noise. And when the British public think of this place, often they think of the shouting and the kind of the baying that the different parties makes when they hear something they don't like. And there is a place for robust debate, and there is a place for really heated argument. But that sound of shouting has actually led to a certain level of distrust and toxicity between politicians and the public, and the politicians themselves feel that very keenly. They don't like the fact that there is that level of distrust. So a very new kind of sound was heard in Parliament just 5 years ago, and that's the sound of a meditation bell. That has led 160 members of Parliament and members of the House of Lords to sit together on a cross-party basis, different political parties, to meditate together and inquire into the nature of human experience. This led to, a few years later, the creation of the world's first public policy report about mindfulness meditation, which was launched in Parliament in 2015 by 3 government ministers, including Cabinet Minister and the Secretary of State for Education. We had 170 policymakers and politicians join us in a meditation led by one of our leading teachers. So I'll come back and tell you this story in more detail in a moment, but first I thought I'd share some of the context of the UK policy-making landscape, why this has captured the imagination of politicians at this time. Then I'll tell you the story and expand on how this is becoming an international phenomenon with politicians from different countries joining together to inquire into the nature of their minds and talking about how this might be helpful for the political process. So firstly, the mind in public policy. So policy making has traditionally been concerned with tangible physical concerns, roofs over people's heads, physical health systems, tax and spend. And there are still many, many problems to fix in the UK, particularly on housing. But increasingly over the last decade or two, in more intangible, subtle concerns of the heart and our inner experience have started to become more the considerations of public policy. As an example, we're finding that, like for instance, trust in our neighbours, public trust, has an effect on how long we live, has an effect on our health. The UK, for all its wealth and positivity, and positive things like that, is the loneliness capital of Europe. Loneliness kills. Loneliness makes you more susceptible to a range of social and mental and physical problems. And so we're starting to consider how we rebuild some of the social connections which we've lost over the last few decades. Mental health, long stigmatized, long ignored, has become now a really mainstream consideration. The royal family in the UK have made this a personal campaign, and it's now at the very top of the government's agenda. It's included in Prime Minister's speeches over the last 2 years, because now we want physical and mental health to have a parity of esteem, because it's seen that mental health conditions are getting more prevalent, and it's also been found that they actually create more misery often than physical health concerns. And we're starting to recognise that the wealth of our nation is mainly in our minds, in a society where we are needing to be at our best and working in knowledge-based jobs primarily. Our emotional and cognitive capacities are being seen as our mental capital. So as individuals and organisations and as nations, we are developing our minds and our resources as a matter of for economic success and competition internationally. And this is no more true, nowhere more true than in school, where as well as developing the knowledge in young people's heads, we're also trying to develop capacities of heart, emotional intelligence, and raw cognitive capacities, because the world is going to change so much in the next few decades. And the knowledge may be out of date, but the cognitive capacities, heart capacities, will be with them for the rest of their lives. And finally, it's starting to be recognized that some of the society's most intractable, insolvable, it seems, problems are woven into mental health problems. So there's this concept of intergenerational trauma that gets passed on from generation to generation, whether it's through alcoholism and abuse, or just mental health problems. Some of the politicians I work with say that they have 2,000 or 3,000 cases a month where people come in and ask for help. And they've started to see that there's, in the kind of core of these problems are often mental health concerns that our public services can help them with. So our Secretary of State for Education over last year, Nikki Morgan, said that poor mental health or poor well-being is one of the barriers that stop young people achieving what they're capable of. If we tackle issues early at school and stop them developing, then it's not just a good thing we do for that child, but also for society. So recognition here that well-being and mental health isn't just an individual concern. It's not up to you to sort out. It's a societal thing that we should all share concern for. So mindfulness in the UK Parliament. It's just I should start off by saying that mindfulness has become incredibly popular in the UK. It's now mainstream in probably only the last 5 or 6 years. You don't need to explain what mindfulness is now when you sort of go on and meet people and talk about it. You might have to clarify what it is because it sounds simple, but actually it's quite a nuanced thing. And it's spread into boardrooms and hospitals and into prisons. And this has been a grassroots, bottom-up phenomena. One of the mindfulness teachers I work with says that mindfulness doesn't come in through the front door, it doesn't hit you in the face, it comes up through the floorboards. And it rises up in our own hearts, our own experience, and we want to share it kind of organically. So this is no different in the Houses of Parliament, where Chris Ruan, Member of Parliament for the Vale of Clwyd in North Wales, had been practicing mindfulness himself and feeling the benefits for 20 years. He decided it was time to share this with his colleagues. So he invited the Oxford University Mindfulness Centre, a centre of excellence for teaching and research of mindfulness practice, to come in and run a course for politicians in early 2013. On that first course of 22 people, the politicians said, look, Chris, I'll come along, but just don't tell anybody. And it was all a little bit of a secret. They were worried that other people might think them sort of strange or weak or something. But as time went on, they told their colleagues what a benefit it was, and then it became more and more popular. So every 4 months, we've had a new course of politicians joining. And they practiced for some time, started to feel the benefits, and like most of us whose lives it transformed, that you think, more people need to know about this, how do I share it? Much like Venerable Dhammajiva has felt and shared it in this country. Politicians thought, well, policy is the obvious way that I can help. And so we formed, this is here, a Member of Parliament, Nick Dakin, who I work with. This is a quote from a speech in Parliament on mindfulness in education. He said, in 2013, I was one of the host of MPs and peers who did a mindfulness course in Parliament. It was transformative. These are gifts of the mind and the body which can and should be taught to all, and the best time to learn these is at school. So the interest was generating. We formed an all-party parliamentary group. Politicians on the right, politicians on the left, and all those in between came together to find common ground to promote or discover what the kind of challenges and opportunities might be. So we had 9 public hearings, experts, 80 witnesses, experts, scientists, but also, experts, scientists, but also those whose lives have been touched by mindfulness. Here in the top right, we have a detective chief inspector of he in charge of the major crimes unit, murders, kidnappings, across 2 counties in England, saying how it helps him to be a better police officer. Children, we've heard here, a manager in a steel factory. And we released this report, which is free, available on our website, Mindful Nation UK, looking at how things could be improved, and we made recommendations to government in 4 main areas: health, education, the workplace, and criminal justice. And so an example would be that mindfulness has been freely available since 2004 on our National Health Service. So if you're at risk of depression, 1 in 10 people will be depressed at some time, 80% go to relapse again and again. And MBCT, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, has shown to be as effective as antidepressants at healing and reducing this recurrence. Now, what we've found is that our doctors want to refer it, but it's not available in many locations, so we made recommendations of how to address that. I would say that our figures show that for every £1 spent on mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, the government should save £4 through reduced spending in various areas of public life. So our mindfulness teachers are an asset, a resource, which helps us to lower costs in this area, but many other areas as well. And Sri Lanka, I think, has a huge untapped natural resource here because of your cultural background that could help in so many areas and help economically with some of society's most pressing problems. We've also engaged with the businesses in the private sector. I will just mention that we have a private sector working group with some of the largest employers in the UK, Jaguar Land Rover, Google, HSBC, many more big companies, who have, some of them have full-time mindfulness coordinators or managers that oversee the programs now. And we brought some of these people together to create a new resource called Building the Case for Mindfulness in the Workplace, which is available on our website, freely available, if you are thinking about bringing this to your colleagues at work. It summarizes the science and talks about how you might want to match that science up with some of the needs of your organization. So policy making, it's clear that the evidence is strongest for things like depression and anxiety, and it's beginning to grow in education and in prisons. And the politicians and the work that we did here was about taking targeted interventions for specific problems in specific areas. But after a time, politicians are starting to think, actually, this is not just about a specific problem. This is a foundational capacity for a flourishing society. This is something that's so important for how the state and politics interact, because if you can't regulate your own mind and you can't regulate your impulses, it's very difficult for you to positively interact with your neighbours and with the state and be an active citizen. Here, John Cruddas, Member of Parliament, says he can see how mindfulness could be a foundational proposition to a whole series of public policy interventions over and above the obvious ones in terms of health. And the number of MPs that have navigated towards this reflects its significance. People are turning to it as a whole approach to public policy making. And then, more recently, politicians have started to think, well, we talk about it being helpful out there, but what about how mindfulness could be helpful in here? What about mindful parliament? What about mindful politics more broadly? And when I talk about this to people who haven't heard of it, there is often laughter or incredulousness because of that reputation, because all people see is the fighting and the disagreement. Behind the scenes, I know now, there's a tremendous amount that politicians want to work on together and have shared common ground. And they're now interested about how mindfulness could help them to do that. So the Conservative co-chair of our all-party parliamentary group, Tim Lawton, says there is an affinity, a connection amongst those who have been on this mindfulness course in Parliament, and a rather more considered approach to exchanges of differing views. So they talk about how mindfulness, often the word that keeps coming up when you speak to the politicians, is perspective. It helps me have a bit of balance and perspective on what I'm doing and why I'm saying what I'm saying. And one of the reasons I think that is because when we start to explore our own minds, we start to see that thoughts are not facts. Our beliefs aren't necessarily exactly how it is, and so you have a bit of perspective and a bit of distance on what you believe. For someone who's at risk of depression, that's very helpful, because we see that thought that I had, that I'm a useless person and I shouldn't bother, this is hopeless. When you are depressed, that is true, and you can't escape from that, and it drags you down into a cycle that is difficult to escape from. But when you train in mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, you say, that's just a mental phenomena, that's just an event. It's not a fact. And I can respond to that in a different way. I can step out of that spiral and look at the world in a different way. And politicians talk about how seeing our thoughts in that way, that I can really believe this, and it might be right, but there's a little bit of perspective there, and there's less identification with what they're saying, and therefore there's perhaps a more considered way to talk about these ideas between themselves. So this is early days, and 10% of British politicians have been on a mindfulness course. It isn't going to change the nature of public discourse overnight, but who knows, in 10, 20 years, if that continues, it might do so. Certainly, this has inspired many others around the country, and politicians in the British Parliament have been to the Netherlands, they've been to France, Germany, many other countries, and helped to set up teaching programs for politicians there. And in some cases, politicians have kind of come out of the closet in different countries where there isn't already a program, and it's still a strange thing to do. But we collected some of these politicians together in Westminster in October. We had 40 politicians from 14 countries come and meditate together, a historic first meeting. This idea was a collaboration between our all-party group and Congressman Tim Ryan from the United States, who is tipped as being a Democratic candidate for the next election and is a household name over there. We went around the world, including to the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, places that you wouldn't expect this being really embraced. Here we have Ecuador, UAE, France, and Wales. And on the 17th of October in 17, last year, we brought 40 politicians together, led by the most renowned teacher and scientist, Professor John Kabat-Zinn, who's been studying this for 35 years in American medical hospitals. And we had a day of practice, of silence, but also of discussion. We heard from a prisoner who had been in prison for 30 years, who felt that he's got his life back because of mindfulness. The politicians said, wow, that was so moving. We talked about, and politicians themselves got up and started sharing how they found it helped them to be a better leader. I mean, one of the first things you get is just dealing with stress. I mean, I know that politicians are humans too. It was a surprise to me. And they live an incredibly pressured and difficult existence. I have so much compassion for what they try to do, and the ones I know anyway are doing it for the right reasons. And mindfulness practice has helped them to just get on and be a bit happier in the midst of all of that. And they talked about that, but they also talked about how it's helped them to listen, and it's helped them to collaborate. Tim Lawton MP, down the bottom right, talked about how he did his mindfulness practice in the bath every morning, and journalists in the room found this hilarious. So it was part of the national news cycle. MP spends an hour in the bath every morning. I'll show you that in a minute. Here we had lunch in the speaker's staterooms. The MP from Sweden there in the bottom right, talking about the Swedish program, which has been running for a similar amount of time, 5 years. And here we have MPs from Israel and Italy and Scandinavia. This was just all congratulating ourselves in the evening. And yes, so it was front page news. So we had the Times newspaper reported on it here. The headline does mention Tim Lawton MP meditating in the bath. But although that was quite a funny headline, which got a lot of coverage on TV and on the radio, what it triggered was a really important conversation, a public conversation about who do we want our politicians to be? Do we want them to be working every single minute of the day without like rushing and making quick snap decisions? Or do we want them to look after themselves so that they can be clear-minded and creative in the face of constant change? And it, in the end, very, very helpful conversation. And so what we feel might be happening here is that we're starting to explore how our internal world affects our external world, out in society, but also as leaders. What we cultivate in our hearts and our minds has a real impact on how we work and who we work with. And when you're in charge of millions of dollars of expenditure and millions of lives, it's particularly important that we address society's most pressing problems at the level of the human heart and the human mind. So once again, I will say that I'm so grateful to be here, a first for Asia. I would love and expect to see Sri Lanka being a leader in this area and showing us all in the West how it should be done in a few years' time. And I thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you for sharing those very transformative changes and tangible examples of it, Mr. Bristow. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a special moment for us. We would like to say a big thank you to the President for joining us. I'd like to invite Mr. Harsha Gunasena, President of the Sati Pasala Foundation, to present a token of appreciation for the President's presence here today at the inauguration of the Global Mindfulness Summit 2018. So one of the tools in mindfulness is yoga, and we would like to give you a demonstration of the students who come under Sati Pasala Kurunegala, but it's a collective of students from Royal International, Malayadeva Boys College, Malayadeva Balika, Sri Sumangala Mahavidyalaya, President's Girls College, Holy Family Balika, and Bayamba Royal College. The students are from grade 5 to 11, and there will be 18 students on stage. Yoga in mindful motion. The children of Sati Pasala Kurunegala, the collective of schools that have been practicing mindfulness now for some months and some of them for a couple of years. Thank you very much to those students. They've worked very hard. We've watched them at rehearsals. It's been exciting for them to perform this at this venue, and so thank you very much. A round of applause for them would be good. I would now like to invite to the podium the very Venerable Ringu Tulku Rinpoche, the Tibetan meditation master, for his address.
Venerable Bhikkhus, His Excellencies, and special guests, and dear friends. I'm very honored and touched by what has been going on in Sri Lanka. This is a very encouraging thing that the students in schools and the teachers are learning mindfulness meditation. I think it's very important for this world to have some positive things happening, and to, especially the children, to have some news, have some information about something positive and hopeful happening in this world. I've been traveling almost all over the world last many years, and I have seen that there is a sense of negativity, sense of hopelessness, kind of happening everywhere in the world. I've met some young people who tell me that I don't want to live on this earth because it's hopeless. There's nothing good is happening. Everything is becoming so bad, and all the problems are becoming more and more. So therefore, it's better that I die quickly. It's not true that everything is going bad, but that kind of a sense is happening. And there seems to be lots of hopelessness feeling in the people, especially the young people. I think it's a very great thing and very important thing that if we can bring certain kind of hopefulness through learning that what I feel, what kind of world I live in,
how I work and relate with the world around me is not just because of some events and happenings in this place or around the world, but actually how I am, how I react, how I see. I think this is one of the most important things. From Buddhist point of view, I think the first and most important question asked is that, how do I free myself and other people from problems, sufferings, and pain? This becomes the first question. And when you ask this question, the question is based on what is it that I want? What is it that the most important thing for me? The question is that I know that I want to be free from problems and sufferings and pain. I want to be happy, well, whatever you call that. And I know that not only me, but everybody around me, everybody who is like me, also wants that. So if that is the case, what is it that we should do? In a way, everybody is running after that. Everybody is trying to find what is the most important thing, what brings me happiness, well-being, and benefits for myself. But why it's not achieved? Instead of achieving more lasting peace, happiness in this world, we are creating actually more and more problems. The main reason is that we do not connect with what actually brings the most important and most beneficial thing for myself. What brings my happiness? My happiness, my well-being has to be something to do with me, within me, not only what I have, what happens around me. And that is the one which creates all the problems. So therefore, the basic essence of meditation, mindfulness, whatever you called it, is this, that we look at ourselves, we feel ourselves, and see that, that what I experience is my feeling. And what is my feeling? What is my emotions? What is my thoughts? And these are nothing but changing phenomena. It's coming and going, it's coming and going. And it's very difficult for us to understand this. And then we see one incident, we see one emotion, we feel one emotion and feel that that's it. that's going to be there all the time. That's something that is truly there. And we allow that emotion, that experience completely take over ourselves and act and react with that and create problems and pain for ourselves and create pain and problems for others. I've heard a story that there was a great master and his attendant. The master was always peaceful, always joyful, always kind. He was an example of kindness and compassion and joyfulness. His attendant was not like that. He was always upset, he was always angry, he was always frustrated. And one day he came to his master and he said, you know, I've been serving you for so long and you are so good, you are so peaceful, you are so joyful, you are so happy, and I'm not like that. Please tell me the secret, how I can become like you. Tell me your secret. The master said, well, there's not much secret. I don't know what is the secret. I can't tell you. But I know one secret about you. He says, what is that secret? Please tell me. He says, well, I'll tell you only if you don't tell to anybody, if you promise not tell to anybody. He said, yes, I promise that I will not tell to anybody. Then he says, the secret is that I know that you are going to die in 1 week. He was shocked. And then he came out, and his master saw that he was talking nicely to the next person. And he was being quite okay and kind, and you know. And then after 1 week, the master met him and said, you know, how was the week? Did you get angry? He said, no. Did you get upset? No. Were we kind with everybody? He said, yes. There's no reason. I'm going to die soon, so there's no reason to be so worried and so, you know. He says, you have been very nice in this last 1 week. That's my secret. So, you know, sometimes how I do and what I see and what I feel, you know, we always think it's because of something else and somebody else and, you know, some incidents, but actually it is within ourselves. And this is what meditation is about. This is what mindfulness is about. But, and this is a treasure of our, especially our Buddhist heritage. This is a treasure. It's a jewel. But due to some reason, we don't share that. I don't know about Sri Lanka, but it seems same. In our tradition, in the Himalayas, Tibet, India, we do lots of prayers, except in the monasteries and things like that. And even the monasteries, you know, unless you are really interested, you don't get meditation instructions. You don't meditate, you just pray, you don't do all other things. And for the other people, you know, lay people, meditation is like if somebody is seen meditating, people will like a little bit feel funny, look, he's kind of meditating. He's trying to be so special or something like that, And that is very bad. It's unfortunate, I think. And especially, of course, in the West, of course, meditation was unknown. And when I first went to the West, those people who were doing some meditation, they had to do it kind of secretly. If you say, I'm meditating, people would kind of look at you. You are something a little bit, crazy or something like that. And then last 20 years, people did lots of research on this. I met many of these scientists and people who have been doing this kind of research. They researched on the brain, as you have seen on the photo of some of the meditators, and found that they are actually so much happier. Some of them were actually 800 times to 1,000 times happier than normal human beings. And they were shocked. I was told by some of these scientists that, first they thought that something was wrong with their machine. This is not possible. And then they did it with many different machines in many different ways, and they found that that's true. Actually, that is how they found that actually the brain can change. So therefore, then they did research more and more, and it is found that this is a great treasure there. It's something very important for the future of the human society. So therefore, I think it's not that we didn't know about that. All these Buddhist countries knew about it very clearly. There were so many great masters who had this experience, who had no problems even when they were dying, or any problems. But somehow it was kind of treated as if this is something that ordinary people would not understand or would not be able to do, or something, it's only for getting enlightenment and nirvana and things like that. Of course, to become fully enlightened, to become, really attain the nirvana, that's one thing. But that doesn't mean that this cannot be applied, this cannot be used for now, for this, at this stage, for this life. Because this is the important in Buddhism, that Buddha taught different things for different purposes. He didn't teach only for people to become enlightened. He also taught how to become a good human being and happy human being, and how to be. So therefore, I think it is a very great thing. And of course, now, mindfulness, meditation, as my previous speaker was saying, it's become so kind of mainstream. Not only with the teachers and in the hospitals and nurses, but everybody in the business, all the kind of, everywhere you find the mindfulness classes, and almost I have never seen a university where there is not some kind of research is not going on this type of things. So therefore, and especially, Sri Lanka and India, for instance, should be actually taking the leading role in this, because they have as it was mentioned, they have the resource for that. They have the tradition for that. They have and I am so grateful to Sati Pasala and also to the government of Sri Lanka. They are going forward with such a wonderful project of introducing this to the schools and teachers, and I'm sure it will become very helpful and useful for everybody, and it could come from there. I am just very, very excited about this. I would like to ask for a copy of this video and would like to take to Sikkim. And probably they would also start something like this. Because a few years ago, the government of Sikkim invited His Holiness Dalai Lama to come there and to do a conference on Buddhism and science. And he said, I will come, but I will come only if you do something that will be useful and beneficial ongoing. And they promised, we will do something. We will really take something from that and then we will implement it. And he came and he had a very nice conference. Lots of scientists came, he came, but then nothing happened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a copy of this video and then offer it to our Chief Minister. So thank you very much. And I'm most honored to be here and to have this opportunity to see all of you and get this wonderful information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Most Venerable Ringu Tulku Rinpoche. One message that resonated from his message is that happiness comes from within, and happiness is what you make of it and how you make happiness for yourself. Our next is a message on mindfulness, the key to living fully, and this is being delivered by the Venerable Henepola Gunaratana.
This course, called Maha Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha at the very outset mentioned 5 purposes of meditation, particularly practicing mindfulness meditation. Number 1 of these 5 is purification of mind. Second is overcoming sorrow and lamentation. Then pain and grief, following the right path and attaining liberation from suffering. Now, many people in the United States are very rich. This is the most powerful country with all kind of military power, economic power, and even educational power. With all this, people suffer a great deal, especially with enormous degree of stress, tension, anxiety and worries. Why the Buddha said that the purpose of mindfulness meditation first to purify the mind, sattanam visuddhya, because we see how people suffer from the thoughts, words and deeds they commit with impure state of mind. Life becomes light when the mind is clean and pure. The wealth does not bring high quality life. High quality life comes from high quality mind. High quality mind comes from the practice of vipassana meditation. That is why the Buddha in the Dhammapada, the very first two stanzas, he said that if one with impure state of mind says something, does something, then suffering follows him like the cart that follows the hoofs or the ox that pulls the cart. The ox that pulls the cart does not do it willingly on his own. He is forcibly dragged and tied to the yoke. The road he drags or pulls the cart is not paved, smooth road. It is rugged, rough, uphills, downhills, puddles, potholes, winding, and the cart that he pulls also is not empty cart. It is full of merchandise. The driver is not very compassionate driver. Even if the bull or horse is hungry, thirsty, tired, weak, and even sick, the driver will beat him up, shout at him, or curse him if he slows down, because the driver himself is under pressure. Why? Because he wants to deliver his merchandise from a point A to point B. So, under all these odds against him, this poor bull has to pull the cart. Similarly, when we do something with impure state of mind, suffering follows us, not giving us pleasure or happiness. Suffering always is very painful. On the other hand, when the mind is pure and clean, with that pure state of mind, if we say something, do something, and think a thought, then the results follow us like our own shadow. This is a very wonderful simile to keep in mind when we practice mindfulness or Sati. Sati is the practice that cleans the mind, because there is another component of Sati called Yoniso Manasikara, wise reflection or mindful reflection. What it really means that when we practice Sati, as the mind becomes clear, then whenever thought arises, we see the root of that thought. That root, there are 6 roots. 3 unwholesome roots, 3 wholesome roots. 3 unwholesome roots are greed, hatred and delusion. 3 wholesome roots are non-greed, non-hatred and non-delusion. Non-hatred is metta. Non-delusion is wisdom. Non-greed is generosity, letting go. See this very pure, clean state of mind. When we say something, the very moment we speak with clean mind, we are happy. When we finish the talk, we are happy. And whenever we think of the fact that we spoke with clean mind, clear mind, then anytime we think about it, we will be happy. You remember in Rahula Sutta, Buddha asked Venerable Rahula to think before he speaks, and think while he speaks, and think after he speaks. We practice mindfulness in order to clean our mind and speak friendly, gently, kindly, and practice metta, loving friendliness. When we try to introduce sati or mindfulness, we must keep this in mind. We, however, cannot make the whole world practice metta or mindfulness meditation. But if 10 people practice mindfulness meditation, these 10 people will be happy and peaceful. If 100 people practice, 100 people will be happy. So we start introducing this mindfulness or sati to people with great effort, determination, and above all, great patience. With these 3 components, qualities, when we introduce mindfulness meditation to the society, society will see the benefit very soon. When I came to the United States about 50 years ago, people even have not heard mindfulness or vipassana meditation. Now there are many vipassana meditation centers, vipassana meditation teachers, vipassana meditation retreats, and even some airports in the United States have meditation room. And I have seen some of our friends practicing meditation, mindfulness meditation in those rooms. Those rooms, of course, are open to any person to go and meditate. Among them, we can see many people are practicing mindfulness meditation. So now more and more people slowly and gradually practice mindfulness meditation because they have seen the benefit. They have seen when they meditate for 10 minutes, they see the benefit immediately. So I encourage everybody to take it up very seriously and practice very diligently and mindfully.